For today, conservation meeting, November 10th, 2025. First thing that we're going to do is review the minutes from the July 14th meeting, which is the last meeting that we had.
Minutes, you have a copy there too.
Yep, thank you. Has everybody reviewed the minutes? Are there any questions on it?
No questions. I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Second,
Approved? Yep.
all in favor?
All in favor, sorry? Aye. Approved? All right, easy enough. Next step is old business. Unfortunately, there is nothing old business to review, so we'll move on.
Met in a long time.
Yeah, right? New business, so I'd like to introduce our newest member.
My name is Matthew Skrzynski. It's a pleasure to be here and on this commission. Help out in any way I can.
Can you give us a little, I know you did by email, but can you give us a little background, how you got here and
Yeah,
where you-
so I grew up in Middletown. I went to Gaudet Middle School, and then I went to the Middletown High School here. I spent 25 years on this island. I have a bachelor's in mechanical engineering and a master's in engineering management, and then I'm also working on my MBA. I work at Raytheon down the street, but I also ran 2 conservation-focused sustainability clubs back in my college days. So I figured I could be helpful to the town and try to, Melissa reached out. We had a nice conversation at one of the town meetings, and I figured I could be helpful with my knowledge about conservation and sustainability.
I think that's incredibly helpful, and
That's
I think
great.
it'll be a great contribution to the committee.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay. Next is, unfortunately, I have found that I was far too busy with my company that I run and kids and everything else. So I asked Melissa if she would be willing to step up as the chairman instead, or chairwoman. This-
Chair,
Chair, yeah, you just be a chair.
yeah.
Person.
Chair, and she's more than willing to do so, but I think the official way to do it would be for me to step down as the chair, which I already did through email, and hold a new election for the chair, and I nominate you.
Thank you. I accept your nomination.
I second.
That's third.
Okay. All approved?
Aye.
Thank
Good.
you.
All
Appreciate
right.
that very
So
much.
I believe we discussed that at this point. We're going to hand it off to you to
Yep.
continue the meeting.
But thank you, first of all, I want to say thank you very much, Brian, because certainly anybody who's holding down a full-time job or more than one job and a family and everything else, that is a huge amount
Thank
to
you.
be
And your
handling.
passion has always been extremely high for this.
I appreciate that, and true, maybe even more over the top, but yeah, and I think you've made great contributions. Really appreciate you stepping up and doing this, and we will miss you, but we hope that we'll always have a supporter in you out there.
Yeah,
Can I ask for a little clarification, because maybe I didn't read the email well, or I'm not sure. You're stepping down just as chairperson, or completely stepping down from the
So,
commission as well?
I will stay on the commission as long as the commission needs me, because I believe if I step down, that there's not enough
We don't have a
members.
commission?
So I will stay on for as long as is necessary, as long as I can attend the meetings, and at that point, I can step off. But in the meantime, I want to support in every way that I can. I just definitely don't have the time to do all the backup information.
Yep,
that's
gotcha.
needed.
Great, thank
And
you.
one thing I did discuss with the town clerk, with Wendy Marshall, is that once you are officially resigned as chair, now she can go out and advertise as like we have an empty position. We still do have empty positions.
Yeah, I
So
was
I think
gonna say,
we
we
still
didn't-
have more.
You didn't create the only...
No, I know.
No, you didn't, but.
Which is why I wanted to make sure that I was here to
No,
support.
thank you. We
Yeah.
really appreciate that, so.
Because it is an important committee. I think that we have a lot that we could do. I think that because the charter is so vague in what it is that, we specifically
Right.
do, it gives us the opportunity to address any
Yeah.
issues that the board feels they're passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, with that, we need to continue election of officers. So I'm vacating the vice chair position, so we'll need to fill the vice chair and also the secretary position. So I would like to nominate Phil to be our vice chair.
Second.
All in favor? Any
Yep.
discussion?
Do you accept it?
I do accept it. I will state that my original, and who knows what will happen over a half a year from now, but my original intent was to step down when my term expires next July, and that's still my intent now. That may change, but just prefacing that so that,
Yeah,
I don't
no,
think I'm here
understood.
for the
We're happy to
long
have
term.
you for as long
Yeah.
as you can stay on.
But yes.
Okay, so
with
all
that
in
caveat.
favor?
Aye.
Aye, great.
I think we didn't have a secretary.
And I bet we're going to.
If you're interested.
Yeah, I can take up the role. So can you guys just, I know Melissa described it, it's just taking minutes, right? Pretty much. And-
Yes.
Yeah, and as Melissa mentioned, it's probably a good way to get a handle on the commission, because you attend the meeting and then you rehash the meeting and write it down and publish it, and, you'll know more than we do.
Yeah.
And as a reminder, the meetings are also captured
Okay.
on the YouTube channel, so if you ever wanted to review it at another time, you could.
Okay. Yeah,
And I'll be honest, having done the minutes for a few years now, that's basically what I do is thank you to April for making sure that we have this recording available, and then you can just kind of,
yeah, that would be very helpful in doing that. So, well, if that's all it is, and make sure that these are captured on paper, then I'll accept the position if you guys.
Second, did you have a second? Or-
yeah. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, well,
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's very productive meeting.
congratulations to new officers. And
Thank God we don't have a treasurer. Of course, we don't have a budget, so.
So I did want to take a few minutes to talk about where we go from here. And I think, as Brian said, there are more areas that we could get into. Traditionally, and I'll just say this as background for Matthew's sake, we have met as a commission when we have a project to review. And when we haven't had a project to review, we generally haven't met, or we've met, only very briefly. We haven't really branched out into looking at other areas that we might be able to work on as a Conservation Commission. So I would like to explore that. And one of the ways we can do that, for example, is looking at what other conservation commissions do around the state. We've also in the past talked about doing some outreach to like-minded organizations. I've mentioned things like the Aquidneck Island Land Trust and the Norman Bird Sanctuary, who have similar conservation missions. So having a kind of outreach or liaison with them. We do have liaison with some of the other committees, particularly the Tree Commission, that Phil is our representative. And I think maybe that's another area where we could expand. Last year, former chair Jim Gedney and I went and talked to the Open Space and Fields Committee, and they said, yeah, this would be good if we all met together and talked about where we might be value added to each other, or we don't want to overlap, but where we can be kind of a force multiplier. So that's something we could pick up and explore. And I also think we can start by just talking to the planning board. We are an advisory commission to the planning board, so talking to the planning board about what they would like to see from us, if there are areas that they think we could be potentially helpful or value added. I'm thinking in terms of maybe there are some of these ordinances that are on the books. We talked about the pesticides and fertilizer ordinance, for example, where there's a component that involves education or outreach, and maybe that's something that we could get involved in. So I think there's lots of areas, and we can think about what might be areas that we are personally interested in and that would really be beneficial to the town that we want to put some energy into. And on that note, I will say that I had an email exchange today with John Mello. John is the town engineer, and he is the town's representative to this committee, but he generally only attends when we have a project to review, because then we can rely on his expertise. But he sent me this. This is just the cover page. It's a draft of the Aquidneck Island Watershed Plan prepared by the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management. And you can go online and find this, and I can forward you guys. We can put in the minutes the link. This is right up our alley in terms of watershed. That's one of our key concerns as a Conservation Commission. So I'd like to suggest that we all review this and see if it generates some discussion or some interest or some areas where we would like to explore. Unfortunately, the comment deadline, I think is like either tomorrow or it's like we don't have time to, and it's 230 pages. So I don't think that's going to happen, but it's still an
That sort of
opportunity.
thing. And that sort of thing going forward.
That sort of thing going forward, exactly. So that's something I'd propose to put on the agenda for next time. And I don't know if I need to make a motion to do that, but I think,
You set the agenda, so.
yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
exactly.
Going forward, this is going to be on the agenda. But also, here's something I'd like to get your take on. I'd like to propose that we not meet in December unless there is a project for us to review. And a couple reasons for that. One, I think that would give us some time to each individually be thinking about what are some areas or projects that we would like to consider or ask the Conservation Commission, do we want to consider this going forward? So a little bit of time to do that kind of research. And of course, it is also the holidays, and I think that's a difficult time. I think a lot of the committees tend not to meet in December. And then, of course, there is this 230-page document I just discovered, so lots of holiday reading. So I would like to make a motion that we not meet in December and instead have our next meeting on the 12th of January, 2026.
Second that, I think that's great.
Any discussion?
When would the other, it would be December 12th normally.
It would be whatever is the
The second
second
Monday
Monday of December.
Okay, I mean, that's fine by
Okay.
me. A lot of holiday stuff. I know everyone probably has plans with
Yeah, I know the
family.
tree commission, we canned one of our, we meet late in the month, so we canned one that's in around Thanksgiving this year.
Yeah.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
All right, great, thank
So
you.
the next meeting will be on the 12th.
The 12th of January, 2026.
Perfect.
Okay.
And I will add, just for Matthew's benefit, that we, as Melissa said, we're an advisory commission. We don't really have, unfortunately, any decision-making authority. And we tend to review projects that come through, particularly those projects that affect or need waivers for areas abutting wetlands. But even that has been very clumsy because we get, I forget the exact mechanics of it, but we get these projects put on us before they're really fleshed out, and without any technical information, so we can only express concerns about them. And then by the time it goes before the technical committee and the planning board, it's out of our hands. So we are an advisory commission, but I think we've all felt that we can do a little bit more proactively to decide what we want to advise on and how.
We engage in more, affluent discussion with even if we're an advisory, could we sit in on, like, let's say the town planning board? Could we, because, we're kind of in silos right now, if
Yes.
you will. Right, we have the town commission board, we have the conservation, we have the forest, and everybody's doing their own thing in, like, silos, if you will. But I think what I saw when I sat in on the Middletown future plan use is, like, you had everybody coming together and talking. And sometimes that's good for discussion because even if we're an advisory, I might have an idea or, we might have an agenda idea and it agrees and, like, can flesh out some misconceptions with everyone else. So I suggest that we try to push, even as an advisory group, to be more proactive in being in those, like, other meetings.
And I will say also that there's a little bit of precedent for that. Leon, who's not here, is the planning board representative to the Conservation Commission. I'm the Conservation Commission representative to the Tree Commission. So I don't know how many other of those, networking.
And I'm the Conservation Commission rep to the Comprehensive Plan Update Committee. But it's a good point because I think that's something that we could do more of. And to your point about the planning board, you're always welcome to go to a planning board meeting. And there have been times when we have delayed a decision on a project because the project was going to be presented to the planning board. And so that was an opportunity to get more information about it. The other thing that I know you're aware of is the more compressed schedule there is now with the planning approval process, so that master plan and preliminary plan gets combined, and for some projects. And as the Conservation Commission, we only see plans at the master plan level. And so, as Phil was saying, they do not have as much detail. So if we wanted to ask about a stormwater retention system, they might say, well, we'll have that at the preliminary plan level, but we don't yet, we're not required to have that at the master plan level. So it ends up that we're not really able to dig into some of those issues, but then it would be presented at the planning board. So, and the timing is also an issue. The plans, from the time they are certified by the planning department, there's only 90 days for the whole review, and that's technical review, zoning, whatever it has to go through. And so with the scheduling of meetings and everything, that can often be a work to our detriment in trying to get comments to the planning board in time for them to consider them. So for all those reasons, if we only focus on the projects, I think we get a little,
Overwhelmed.
yeah. So opportunities exist to do more, and hopefully we'll be able to find some things there. All right. Any other discussion on that, or certainly we'll have more discussion in January?
No, but I like the idea of having a couple months for us all to digest this and come up with recommendations and suggestions.
Good. Okay. So the next item on the agenda is reports from our liaisons, as we discussed. So, Phil, what's up at the tree commission?
Well, I'll give you what's been happening. A lot of it doesn't really relate directly to the Conservation Commission. We're kind of getting to the end of our maintenance and planting season, and the tree maintenance that we'd contracted out to an outside company has been done to the satisfaction of the tree warden. There were 20 trees, and some may have already been planted, but to be planted this fall. Fall's a good time to plant trees. So that's just kind of the maintenance of the tree commission. One project that I'm personally involved in a lot is that there's a Rhode Island 250 is I don't know what it's called, but
Master plan.
yeah, kind of a master plan for the celebration of the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Some say the birth of the country, but that's just the date is, July 4th, 1776. One thing they've wanted to do is to plant a red maple, which is the state tree in every municipality in Rhode Island. They made an offer of a tree to every town. It was a nice offer, but because we have a tree commission with a budget, we felt we could do a little better. So the tree commission funded a nicer red maple that has since been planted at Paradise Valley Park, but we're planning a commemoration for that, or a dedication of that tree for May 3rd, and with dignitaries and musicians and things like that. Just so you know, May 4th is the 250th anniversary of Rhode Island declaring independence from Britain. We kind of beat the rest of the colonies to the punch. So May 3rd is going to be which is a Sunday, is going to be our commemoration of that. Other work for the tree commission has been involved a tree planting schedule and plan for the new high school, which is kind of a shifting target because every time something changes, it changes where we wanted to put a tree or where they want to take a tree down. Another issue for the tree commission that may be of interest to this is the windmill at Paradise Valley Park. When that was put there, that park was fairly devoid of trees, and particularly behind the stone wall, there was very little, there was nothing intentionally planted there. So New England wants to revert to a forest. That's what happens. And so a lot of trees have come up there since the windmill was restored, and it really affects the operation of the windmill. So we're talking about thinning a lot of those trees out, other than some key specimens, just so that we can operate the windmill more often. We did have a presentation on forest and biodiversity of Rhode Island by the president of the Rhode Island Old Growth Tree Society. And when I say we had it, he did a presentation. I was unfortunately unable to attend that, but there is a PDF of his slides available.
I did attend that, and it was very good, really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I wish it had been recorded, actually.
But he continues to do those kind of presentations. I think his name is Nathan Cornell,
Yeah,
Nathaniel Cornell, and
Yes.
he's got an organization and a website, I think.
It's a Rhode Island Old Growth Tree Society, which is admirable sounding name, I think. Other than that, we're making plans to plant trees. Like I say, the tree commission has a budget, so we decide on areas to plant trees, and we've got a lot of trees to be planted next year, including, which may be of interest and more visible to some people. If you're familiar, if you go down Berkeley Ave, south of the fire department and public building there's a area where the nursery has a whole bunch of trees, and they've got a retaining pond that they put a really ugly fence around, which you're kind of required to do because of its deep enough to drown in, you need a fence around it. So we're going to plant some trees right along the road there to block that
good
out.
idea.
Yeah. And we entertain various requests for trees to be either planted or removed or pruned in town. So those are just kind of ongoing projects on a regular basis. One other thing that came up at the very end of the last meeting was Karen, what's her name with the birds? No,
Barbara?
Karen Barbera
Yep.
is working on kind of a best practices document for tree management in town. That would, it's just a recommendation in some ways at this point, but it would be applicable to both, residents, property owners, town highway department, et cetera. Sometimes people do work on trees or plant trees or remove trees without really having any expertise. So this is just kind of a document that would help guide some of those decisions and actions in a little better way. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing that and seeing what comes of that.
Have you guys had any collaboration with like students from the middle school or anything from the high school? Because I remember when, I was in middle school at God A, we actually had a great history professor who would go out and we would plant trees.
What was his name? I asked because, yes,
Yeah,
We-
say the name. What,
I don't remember.
No,
That's why I'm asking you.
I don't know. It might be Mr. Davis or it might have been. It's slipping my mind right
The
now.
reason I ask is that part of the tree planning for the new high school is involving students, and there is
I
a
think that's a huge
a faculty member at the school that works with students planting trees, and some they've already planted, and can we keep them, or do they have to be moved, and et cetera. So that's the only real involvement I'm aware of with students is on that high school project, but,
I mean, that's good because getting students, middle school, high school involved early definitely
Yeah.
sets, a sustainability goal. And like, hey, when I'm planting a tree in the ground,
Yeah.
this can like get my hands dirty. It does make a difference in the mindset of outcomes of
absolutely.
kids. It did for me, so.
And that's the feeling of the tree commission as well, and one reason we're working with this teacher there, because, like I say, he had already been involved in planting trees with students, so those students already have a vested interest in these, and he's trying to nurture that in upcoming students as well, too. But so far, nothing like that exists outside of the high school, I believe, but, present opportunities to the tree commission if they present themselves.
Okay, thank you. That's excellent. That's a lot. So for the Comprehensive Plan Update Committee, we are actually nearing the end of our drafting process. And I should say, it's a process that involves, of course, input from the committee and from the broader residents of the town. So we've had a number of workshops, public workshops, and we just had one in October that was to see the actual draft elements of the plan on posters around for people to look at, to put sticky notes on if they had comments and this kind of thing. But at this point, we're pretty close to the end. A lot of the extra detail is in the implementation plan. So we will have our goals and our objectives for each of the elements of the plan, and there's I think there's 8 of them altogether, but they range in things from housing to economic development and all these things in between. So
I think we were both there on that. I can attest
yeah,
to it.
you
was a
were at
very-
the-
Yeah, I
the-
was.
yeah,
It was.
to the
It was a great, they had the posters up on both sides and they were showcasing the future development plan. I came a little late to the party, only like being here a few months back from finishing college and stuff like that. But it's, I'd like to see the development of how you guys have worked very hard to develop Middletown. And obviously this gets revised every few years and stuff.
Yep,
So it's
every
a
10
living,
years.
well, I mean, officially, but it goes through the
Yeah.
document,
Yep.
right? It goes through
Yeah.
iterations, I've heard, and it's like a living document that you want to see for the future of the town, which is great.
Yep. And this last workshop we had was probably, I would say, the least interactive, because so much of it was like, here are the results of what we've done up to this point. Prior to that, we had more of people just throwing out ideas and, consolidating them. So we are really getting to the end of that process. The goal is for us to finish our work as the Comprehensive Plan Update Committee at the end of this year. But that is not the end of the process. It then goes to the planning board, and the planning board holds hearings, there's more opportunity for public input, and then the planning board sends it to the town council. And the council, again, more public hearings, more input,
Deliberation.
until it's finally done.
Is there an anticipated publication date?
It is supposed to be finished by late 2026.
Okay.
So, and we're on track,
Good.
so they tell us. So we do have a really excellent group of consultants that are working with us on this, and they've been instrumental because they've done everything, I mean, they've done this process for other towns, and they also are very well versed in what is required by the state. So we have to check all the boxes that the state says we have to do, but then our job is really to provide the input that is our particular perspective for, us, the residents of Middletown. So you've got to build the building, but when you actually go to, put the furniture in there, it's got to be what we want. So that's, I think, been going very well, and we are on track to get it done, and there will be more opportunities for the public to weigh in, but I think we are on track.
Good.
Okay, so that is the end of our agenda. Is there anything anybody wants to mention now that we can be thinking of for our next meeting, next agenda?
Well, I did want to mention 2 documents we just talked about, the state level pass downs, just so everyone's aware. The state of Rhode Island has passed new zoning laws meant to increase housing opportunities, and it's a little outside of the scope of maybe the Conservation Committee, but I feel like it does intertwine, because at the end of the day, if we create more open space, we can conserve more land by building housing better and more efficiently to house more people who have parks and opportunities to go to these places, not just drive down to the cul-de-sac and say hi to their neighbors, right? And then another documentation, which, since we have so much time before our next meeting, I would highly suggest, like you mentioned, 2050 transportation study, the 2050 or 250 celebration. Yeah, there's a 2030 housing put out by the state. So I'm wondering if we can, influence the idea of, what does the state want? What do we want to keep the character of the town? How do we, intertwine sustainability and conservation with meeting the objectives of the, 10-year plan all at once? And I know that's a very high-level macro view, but I just figured I would mention that.
So here's a thought. Let me throw this out here. I want to put the link to this watershed document in our minutes. How about if we get the links to those documents as well? And then that will go into our minutes and become part of our record, and we can all be looking at them. And if there's anything in particular you want to pull out to discuss next time, we can put that on the agenda for next time. Does that make sense?
Great.
All right. Cool. Anything else? Okay, I think we're ready for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Thanks, you guys.
The board, it's a privilege to be here.
Thank you.
Where did you go to school?
For college?
Yeah.
Yeah, UMass Lowell.
Nice.
Yeah, I